This Saturday morning, we have an exciting broadcast at the Rainbow Push International headquarters located in Chicago, 930 East 50th Street. We're going to be discussing Independence Day, the 4th of July, what it really means today. We're going to talk about saving the children, stopping the violence. Don't change that dial. Stay tuned. You are tuned into the Rainbow Push Coalition. Now, we're live all over the world on the Impact Network, on WVON, and we're WVON AM 1690, iHeart Media on the internet. We're streaming live on our website. We are Facebook Live. Go to rainbowpush.org and you can catch us. You can keep focused on this broadcast even when we go off of Impact Network. Just go to rainbowpush.org. Tell your family and your friends if they don't have Impact, they can get us on the rainbowpush.org. We welcome our international family, those who are watching us across the continent of Africa, South America, across Europe, the Caribbean, China. Thank you all for joining us each and every week. And then we thank all of our United States partners, particularly our satellite cities in New York, Detroit, Atlanta, Silicon Valley, and we're so excited. We have Bishop Joseph Bryant is here with us. He's our National Sports Director. Give him a round of applause. Hello, Linda Wheeler. Thank you for always tuning in to our broadcast. We want to welcome new members. If you join us today, we'll give you a shout out, or perhaps you'll see your name scrolling on the screen. If you want to join us, go to rainbowpush.org and just hit membership. You can join us, or hit donate and you can make a contribution. If you don't want to go to the website, just call us at 773-256-2775. 773-256-2775. This week we're dedicating this broadcast to the family of our own Reverend William Hall. He's the pastor of the St. James Evangelical Lutheran Church, on the passing of his father, William Hall Sr., who was a member of Operation Breadbasket. We're praying for the family of Larry Rogers Sr. and Larry Rogers Jr., both attorneys for Rainbow Push and Push Excel, on the passing of their family matriarch, Mrs. Catherine Rogers. We're praying for the family of Anton Rose, the young man that was killed in East Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We are praying for those, that family, as well as for those who are marching and demonstrating in a nonviolent way. We're praying for the Jackson 5 family on the death of Joe Jackson this past week. And then certainly we're praying for the victims of the Annapolis, Maryland shooting. But on a very positive note, we want to congratulate Cheryl Burton being named Nightly News anchor for ABC Chicago. That's a move. That's exciting. We are both on the camera and behind the camera. Reverend Jackson and members of Rainbow Push will be joining the rally and marches today that are happening all around the United States in 750 cities, involving every state in the union, in Chicago, Washington, and D.C., as well as 743 other cities, marching against this inhumane policy that created the disconnection of our families and placing our families in internment camps. We want to end the systematic criminalization of immigration and immigrants. We want to revoke the action for childhood arrivals, stop intimidating at ICE facilities. Well, Reverend Jackson will be marching. He'll be talking more about that later in this broadcast. Some important dates. Today we open our STEAM, Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math program here. Our Sports Institute will kick off on next Saturday. We welcome today several NBA and NFL retired players and active players who will be welcoming our students to our STEM Sports Institute. On July 7th, which is next Saturday, we welcome the Mandela Fellows to Push Again, the 2018 class of Mandela Fellows. Next Saturday, we will be supporting Father Flager and other pastors who are prepared to engage in Operation Shut Down the Dan Ryan to decree the violence that's occurring in Chicago and cities across this nation. But we want you also today and this week and in coming weeks, stop by the Push store, get a copy of Mrs. Jackson's book, Loving You, Thinking of You, Don't Forget to Pray. Loving You, Thinking of You, Don't Forget to Pray. Our own Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson has written a book. I'm getting my copy. You better get your copy. They're going fast. And you want to get your copy right now. We want to welcome some special guests that have joined us today. Reverend Jackson, we have Rachel Williams, the Global Director of Diversity for StubHub, one of the sponsors for our sports program. Our sports tech program has joined us today. Bishop Bryant is our sports director, has joined us. Retired NFL star Jimmy Bell has joined us today. He spoke to our young people this morning. The Reverend Ronaldo Kyles and Tim Kishner of Sports World, one of our partners in our sports program, they are here today, and we thank God for them. And last but not least, I want all of our young oratorical winners to just stand with their trophies. The trophies are big as some of them are. All of our young oratorical students, the winners of this year's national competition. Some of them are here today. First place, second place, third place, and the little kids that are standing behind Reverend are the youngest to win. We have a great oratorical program that has been organized by Judge Stanley Hill, and he has a whole team of judges and others who volunteer. You should enroll your child today. Now we have a musical selection by Lady Chris. Won't you greet Lady Chris as she comes at this time?
First of all, I just want to start by saying we're going to dedicate this song, Stand By Me, to Reverend Jesse Jackson, because he's been amazing. He's been standing by us, and we just want him to know that we're standing by him. When the night has come and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed no tears. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed no tears. Just as long as you stand by me. just stand by me. Oh, 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 stand by me, stand by me, stand by me.
Give a round of applause. Stand by me. The Supreme Court has issued a number of decisions this week which impact us not just in voting rights, not just in gerrymandering, but one case that impacts us in terms of labor is the Janus case. And here to talk about what that case means to us today, we have Tish Taylor representing AFSCME Council 31. They are the plaintiffs in this case. And Stacey Gates representing Chicago Teachers Union.
Good morning, Operation Push. Good morning. What a glorious day the Lord has made. It was indeed a slap in the face to organize labor and all we have done to try to move the poor people into the middle class when the Janus decision came down. Janus is saying that unions can no longer charge people who choose not to pay dues a fee for representing them. We represent them at the bargaining table and get them the same wages, hours, and working conditions that union members get, and in other procedures. This was given to us in the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1945. It's nothing new. It was reaffirmed in 1977. But now that the rich and wealthy is coming after all of us, one of the first things they want is the labor unions, because they know that's the first line of defense against them and unrighteous employers. We're here to say, AFSCME Council 31, that we would continue to fight. It was a very bad and poor decision, but it was upheld in 1977 by the Supreme Court when they didn't have a bias Supreme Court, and we'll get it back. But until we get it back, we're still here, and we're going to continue to still fight, because if you're going to get our benefits, then you should have to pay the price. I could give you a lot of labor history, but they told me I only had 3 minutes, and I tried to condense it down. I guess I went too fast. Sister?
Good morning. My name is Stacey Davis Gates, and I'm a black woman, and I'm a public sector employee, which means I'm also a member of a labor union, the Mighty Chicago Teachers Union. And so I want to talk about impact, because we have we talk about court cases and we talk about statistics, but let's be clear that this case is about our mothers, it's about our grandmothers, it's about our aunts, it's about our sisters, it's about our cousins. It's about the black women who work in the post office. It's about the black women that work at the county hospital. It's about the black women who work in the public schools in your neighborhood. That's what this court case is about. The Janus decision is not about Mark Janus, a white man in Central Illinois. It was never about him. It is about every black woman that brings home a W-2. It's about every black woman who works for retirement security. It's about every black woman who endeavors for safe communities. That's what this decision is about, so do not be misled by rhetoric and false imagery. This court case is spearheaded and it is funded by billionaires and sorry politicians that worship at the altar of Jim Crow. It is about stripping us of our voice, our earning power, and our freedom. Connect the dots. This decision comes at a time where our nation's Justice Department is headed by Jefferson Beauregard Sessions. Our White House is headed by Donald Trump, where the governor of Illinois puts his name on this court case, where you have a mayor who forces out black people from this city, closes black schools, and then runs for re-election on a law and order platform. Be clear. This is about proliferating private prisons, because the same people are funding and worshiping on that. blocking the ballot box, ask anyone in Alabama, Indiana, or Ohio, and in stripping us of our civil rights, separating mothers from children, just look in Texas, and trying to make us work for free. And be clear, this isn't about civility. Anyone asking you to be civil when someone is trying to kill you is also trying to kill you. This is about survival, it is about justice, and it is about freedom. And Black women, it is really about us. So what we have to do, because we are both the largest chunk of public sector employees, we are the largest chunk of public sector union members, and we are also the largest chunk of reliable and loyal members of the Democratic Party, we must organize. So all of this reflects our needs. Black women, we must organize, so all of this reflects our needs. So we need a W-2, and our husbands and our boyfriends and our fathers and our brothers and our sons need W-2s. And everyone is going to tell us to vote. And we have to tell them something too. So be clear. We tell them that our Black children matter. All of these beautiful children that we were just clapping for, we have to tell them to stop mass incarceration, and we have to tell them to stop killing us in our streets. Voting isn't a single action. You vote and you organize. You vote and you run for office. You vote and you determine the platform. You vote and you hold them accountable. Thank you.
And now it is time for us to have a national perspective on all of the issues as we look at the 4th of July, as we look at the marches about immigration, as we look at the violence in our cities. I want you to greet warmly our national spokesperson, Mr. Jonathan Luther Jackson.
Thank you, Reverend Jeanette Wilson. Brother Bell, thank you for your service. Outstanding athlete, and more importantly, now a great humanitarian, giving back to our children. A dear friend of mine, Mr. Jerry Bias. Stand up, Jerry. Thank you for being in Chicago and coming here. I saw Mr. Howard Medley come in here today. Howard Medley, an outspoken man who has been a true civil rights advocate, who has been wronged by the justice system, and he continues to fight to make sure that his name is exonerated, a man that was charged and had done nothing wrong. Brothers and sisters, this has been a very news-filled week in our country, but I want you to know that hope is on the way. And I want to thank all of you for coming out here. Some people are going to be at home today taking medicine, stressed out, worrying about what Mr. Donald Trump is doing, but there's an antidote for that, and that's to stand up and fight back. You can't just stay at home, text, tweet, Periscope, FaceTime. Sometimes you have to show up, boots on the ground. Now let me tell you, America has long had a problem with its children. We spoke last week about Mrs. Phyllis Wheatley, a child that they guessed was the age between 7 and 8 years of age by the size of her teeth. She had been kidnapped, abducted from West Africa. And I want to change the narrative. She was not a slave. She was a child that had been kidnapped from West Africa. She was the first African American to be freed from slavery. She was thought not to have a soul, but she was so brilliant and prolific. She could write anagrams and poems. When they published her book in London, they put her picture on the book. The book was so popular there, they started making prints in America. But the American public would not have her picture on her book. When we talk about the kidnapping of children, we see it right now on the borders of America. But we need to take this time to open up to see what happens to America's children. We have children today in the United States. 2.7 million children have their parents incarcerated in America today. 2.7 million. There are 10 million children that have to live with their parents having been incarcerated in America today. Over 60% of those that are put in jail in America are 100 miles away from their children. 84% of those that are incarcerated in the federal penitentiary system are over 500 miles away from their children. better than 60% of those children never visit their parents again. America has been stripping children away from their parents for a long time. It is very common in the Spanish language and in the Mexican culture to have your father and your mother's last name. There are children that were migrant workers whose parents had them here, and the hospitals had their names rearranged, so when they went back for seasonal work, their names were misspelled on their birth certificates. They corrected them in Mexico, and now there are over 600,000 children in Mexico that were born in the United States of America that are locked out. America has a problem with its children. And when we talk about children being stripped away, and I am all for the marches, and I applaud all of my brothers and sisters that are marching today. Let us open this up, never to close it again, never to go backwards in time. Now let's fight for the 50,000 Haitians that are being deported in 2019. We saw what happened in Haiti in 2010. People were going down into Haiti after the earthquake, snatching and kidnapping those children. Have they been reunified? When we talk about children being taken away from their parents, Jerry, it could be a Trayvon Martin. His mother had her child stripped away, and the young man Zimmerman still walks the street. When we talk about a Laquan McDonald, he was stripped away from his parents right here in the city of Chicago. We saw the city of Chicago this past week make a settlement with a 3-year-old child because an officer put a gun to the child's head. I want us to be a bigger and a better nation. And as we get ready for the 4th of July, and before I get to bring up the young man that's going to introduce my father, it's time for us to be more than anti-Trump. I want to see some people man up. I want to see the head of the party. And I want to call some names. I'm going to need former President Barack Obama to stand with Maxine Waters. I don't want to hear about a 79-year-old woman that's a friend and an activist who's never caused anybody any harm to be shamed. I want Mr. Schumer in New York to man up. Mrs. Waters is not uncivil. Talk that talk to the President of the United States, who said grab the women, who said throw them out, who said beat them up. Talk that talk to a man. Ladies and gentlemen, when they hit April Ryan in the newsroom at the White House, when they hit a Maxine Waters, what are you waiting for? You're next. And when our men don't stand beside our women, that's a cowardly culture. And don't act like you don't know who Congresswoman Maxine Waters is. She has fought for us day in and day in and year out, and she's never taken a break. And I'm tired of this being politicized. Now, there is something I do appreciate about Mr. Trump. Although he's wrong as hell, he's going to fight for whatever he believes in. And I'm going to ask you, are you willing to fight for anything? Are you willing to stand up for anyone? I'm not mad at him. I'm just excited about us being here today, picking our voices up, getting ready to fight. Let's do some good. Joshua, come on and introduce our next speaker. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will be reciting my creative compilation of A Mother to Son and A Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes, along with excerpts from I Have a Dream by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up. Even some bed spots with no carpet on the floor, just bare. But all the time, I still been climbing on, reaching landings, turning corners, and even sometimes going in the dark. places where there ain't even been a stitch of light. But all the time, I still been climbing on. But always remember, life ain't gonna be no crystal stair. But mama, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or does it fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotting meat? Or does it crust in sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Does it sag there like a heavy load? Or does it explode? Mama, I'm still curious, so please explain to me what happens to a dream deferred. Well, son, I really don't know. But all I can tell you is life ain't gonna be no crystal stair. Mama, I was wondering because I had a dream that one day the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down at the table of brotherhood. And children will one day not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to say, join hands and say, in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, great God Almighty, we are free at last. Now, it is my pleasure to bring up our hero, the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson, Sr. Thank you.
I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. I may be down but not destroyed. Empty but not void, 'cause I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Yeah, you can turn and walk away, but at the end of this day, you're gonna say, I am somebody. Look at your neighbor and say, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Yeah. At the end of this day, you can turn and walk away, but I am somebody. Look at your neighbor, say, neighbor, God made me. Yeah. I am. Yeah. You can turn and walk away. At the end of this day, sing, I am. Oh,
I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. Respect me. Protect me. Never neglect me. I am somebody. If my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, I know I can achieve it. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop the violence. Save the children. My mind is a pearl. I can learn anything in the world. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Go, my heart.
You can turn and walk away, but in this day, sing, I am somebody. Yeah, God made me. I am somebody. You can turn and walk away. At the end of this day, sing, I am somebody. Oh.
Put your hands together. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. Another glorious day of work and challenge here in Chicago and around the nation. I want to introduce at the very outset some ministers with us today. Reverend Bishop Troy Gaines. Give it up for Bishop Troy. Give it up. Bishop Tyrone Harrington. Pastor Warner Pitts. Pastor Albert Simmons. Pastor Ronaldo Kyles. Pastor Anthony Tyler, Pastor Gary Davenport, and back here again today, somebody called Derek Anderson. Give it up for Derek. Thank you, Pastor Derek. This has been an awesome week of challenge. We had our children on the stage. They have won at their various division levels the oratorical contest. Dr. King won oratorical contest at age 12. When children learn how to speak with authority and learn how to memorize information and then process it, it gives them the strength to fight back and stand up. There's nothing like a child with fully developed legs and muscles and can't speak, can't talk back, cannot argue their own case. Bishop Judge Hillstand, give him a big hand. He has taught these children well. This has been an interesting and awesome week of challenge and threats to our civil rights. And yet we keep fighting. People are marching today all around the nation, standing up and fighting back. We're trying to deport 50,000 Haitians, 57,000 Hondurans, 195,000 Salvadorians who enjoyed temporary status since 1985. These families belong together. Jesus was a border baby. Jesus was a border baby. He was born under a death warrant. And Mary and Joseph had to take him to Egypt to hide him. He must have looked like them. They hid him amongst them. So Jesus was a border baby. He left as an immigrant. He gained asylum, became a refugee in Egypt, and they did not separate Mary and Joseph from Jesus. We had that much stability 2,000 years ago. And so in the best tradition, Jesus was a border baby. I'm looking for some border churches too. There are too few border churches fighting for these families. The evangelicals are part of their homeland is Texas. The voices of the border churches must come alive and speak up for these children of today. These decisions that came down last week are designed to hurt us in a major way. I'm glad that athletes are here today. Athletes are beginning to embrace our children. Athletes, stand up, get on your feet, give them a hand. Give them a hand. But those who are given these extra talents have some obligation to give back, stand up, and to speak up. We are going to look at several things this fall. One, there are 4 million blacks in the South that are unregistered. You listen to me, there are 4 million unregistered. If you want Medicaid, you got to fight about it. Want a decent wage, you got to fight about it. You want first-class education, you got to fight about it. If you want to choose schools over jails, you got to fight about it. I challenge you today. I want those who are in colleges, don't just register and vote where you attend school. Many of those small towns, they want you to be there to be a consumer, to use the laundry and to use the service station. They don't want you there to vote. So I have a right to vote where I attend school. Now, that changes because I was at the University of Alabama some months ago, and just after we won the big victory, about 3,000 people packed into a hall, Benny, and one said, I said, how many of you were for Judge Moore being defeated and Trump? They screamed. So how many of you are registered? All of them stood. How many of you registered in Tuscaloosa? And almost none stood. You're not going to go to school in Tuscaloosa and vote in Miami, or vote in Augusta, or vote in New York. You should vote where you attend school. So you vote where you attend school. As for young America, you have a real choice. If you're 17 now, you'll be 18 by November, you can vote this year. There are more 17 and 21-year-olds than there are 71 and 81. If young America comes alive, they have the power to change the course of our country. Also, we have an interesting combination of a tax coming upon us as a people, as a nation. On the one hand, they got something called Citizens United, which means that the rich people can spend as much money as they want to on a given campaign. They can sit in New York or someplace and say, well, we want to buy those 10 districts and say your votes and your money should come from the same place. If you live in a poor district, use your votes in the district. In other words, if you're in the second ward, you can't vote in the third ward. You have to vote where you live. Your money should come from your district. Your money should reflect the district. Say poor people should have a place in the Congress. Your money should come from the district where you attend. That will alter the course of the flow of money. And then, on the one hand, you have unlimited amounts of money that can be spent on a given campaign. And then, on the other hand, they will take away workers' the right to collectively bargain. You'd be surprised, many people catch 4 buses a day going to work. You get a bus from where they live to the L. They get off the L, they catch a bus to where they're going. They catch another bus going to the suburbs. Many people catch a bus 8 times a day. Half of all Americans make less than $15 an hour. Less than $15 an hour. And half of them make less than $10 an hour. A quarter of their money is spent on public transportation. And so we have a squeeze play going on. But when it's real dog, you have the right to fight back. I challenge you today. If you want to bring some light in the house, use your vote. Rainbow Push intends to work with other organizations this fall. We're going to put on 4 million votes in the South. We want to have half of them to register. We can win a governor's race in Georgia. An African-American woman won the campaign for mayor of San Francisco. Put your hands together. If your game is strong enough, you don't have to be limited by race. San Francisco has less than 6% African American. She's the mayor of that city because she had an agenda that transcended. Say, my agenda must not be limited by my race, by my religion, by my gender. Health care is good for everybody. Accessible education is good for everybody. Affordable housing is good for everybody. In the wars and fight for peace is good for everybody. In some sense, that's what we're trying to say, Derek, that we have an agenda this fall, and that agenda involves our standing up and fighting. I want to express my thanks to you, those who are marching around America today. Trump is in for a season, but that's a tough season. But you must know that our absence is his presence. Those who did not vote voted for Trump. Hello? 2.5 million blacks who did not vote, who were registered. So those who did not vote voted against their interests. Don't let them break your spirit. Someone asked me, they said, Reverend, what is our civil rights agenda? It's equal protection under the law. Why are we so good at football and basketball and baseball? I repeat, that whenever the playing field is even and the rules are public, the goals are clear, the referee is fair, the score is transparent, we can win. We're fighting for equal protection under the law. But sometimes say, if I'm behind, run faster. That's what we're saying to StubHub. Shut up, StubHub leadership. So, we're going to get 1,000 churches to teach our children STEM, teach our children science, technology, engineering, and math. Teach our children science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We want STEAM for our children. There's nothing we cannot do but we in fact must do it, driven by our own desire to survive. Also, we have these kids in jail. 10,000 at Cook County alone who are there on pretrial detention, waiting to be punished. Say if I'm in jail and not sentenced, I have the right to vote. Those in jail should vote anyhow. Talk to me. Say those in jail have the right to vote, should exercise their right to vote. This decision they made about gerrymandering. We've been denied the right to vote 1865 to 1965. They took away, in 2013, they removed protections for Voting Rights Act. So they passed, this court passed and made a decision on gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is how you draw the lines. Democrats, for example, in Virginia won by 200,000 votes, and yet it came down to flipping the coin for who the winner would be. How can you win by 200,000 and lose on the flip of a coin? Hillary defeated Trump by 3 million votes. How can you get 3 million more votes and lose? So if I get 3 million more votes, I win. You go to Kentucky Derby, you win by a horse's nose. Talk to me, somebody. You run a 110-meter dash, you win by a shadow. And so we want to say the same rules that create winners on the horse track and the racetrack must apply to politics. Every vote counts, every vote matters. Lastly, as we travel around the country this past few days, I'm knowing that some of you have become cynical about voting. Voting is not the only weapon, but voting is a major weapon. Do not let your spirit surrender to tough times. Do not let your spirit surrender to tough times. As difficult as things are, they have been worse. So things have been worse. What makes you champions when you fight back? Remember, deep water does not drown you. You drown because you stop kicking. Deep water does not drown you. You drown because you stop kicking. And furthermore, we fall down, we get up again and again. Zero policy is unchristian. Zero policy does not make room for mercy and grace. And mercy and grace, redemption and renewal must be part of formula for change. We'll win this fight if we fight this fight. Stand up and fight back. I know it's dark, but the morning really does come. And just because it's dark don't mean you stop fighting. You can do a lot of things. You can study in the dark. You can think in the dark. You can register and vote in the dark. You can make babies in the dark. You can make war and peace in the dark. So just because it's dark does not mean stop fighting. I'll stand up and I'll fight back over and over again. Now I want you next week, everybody here, to bring someone with. Today we have our STEM children stand. Let them stand. There are about 2 million jobs now waiting for children and young people who can program. So there are 2 million more jobs than people in programming today. We must teach our children to program, teach them to stand up and to fight back. I want all of our children who are in the STEM program to come to the stage, the STEM children. Give them a hand.
When I wake up in the morning, love.
We want 1,000 churches. We want 1,000 churches to get in their Sunday school space in the course of a week, a program to teach our children Bill, how to fight back. To these children, come on, Stacy. These children can learn. To these children can learn, will learn, must learn. Our children can learn, must learn, will learn. Jail is not their destination. The university is their destination. Give it up, 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 give it up. Listen, your churches on tomorrow morning, you will ask the people there who are not registered, show your pastor your registration card. Every voter must count, and every vote must count. And we, look at these wonderful, give them a hand. Go, Chris. Little more stand by me, Chris. Derek, I'm so glad to see you back. I'm so glad to see you.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed no tears. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. When the night is calm and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't shed no tears. Just as long as you stand by me. Darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me.
These are beautiful children. The day we stand with our children at the community celebration, not at the funeral, say these children do not belong in the ground. They belong on the stage of life. To give them another big hand to make a big contribution.
People keep on learning.
Yeah.
Soldiers keep on warring. Yeah. World, keep on turning. Yeah. 'Cause it won't be too long now. Oh, listen now. Powers
Let's hear it for Tim, freshman.
Sleeping.
James Collins, give it up, give it up, give it
Just
up.
stop sleeping. It won't be too long. Oh, yeah. So glad that you let me try. Oh, so that's all on earth for the whole world to sing. Yeah. So glad that I know more than I knew then. Keep on.
Till I reach the high ground.
Chris say, higher ground,
Higher ground.
higher ground,
Higher ground.
higher ground, yeah, higher ground.
Higher ground.
Don't let no one keep you from
Higher ground.
standing on high ground. Yeah. I got to get mine, yeah. On higher ground. We keep saying higher, higher, higher. We got to go there. Higher, higher. Don't let nobody higher ground now. Yeah, higher ground. Oh, I'm so glad that you let me try again. Yeah, my last time on earth, I never want to say. So glad that I know more than I knew then. We got to keep on trying till we reach the high ground. Yeah. High ground. Don't let no one stop you from being on high ground.
Let me say that we have a couple of things
High ground.
that we focus
Gotta
on.
get there. Gotta reach it. I'm
children.
standing.
This week,
now.
3 U.S. senators have followed our lead. We're going to make lynching a federal crime. Congressman Bobby Rush put in the legislation on the House side. This week, Congressman Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris, and Scott, and Cory Booker putting it on the Senate. Said we must make lynching a federal crime. Unarmed children shot by the police must be a federal crime. Talk to me, somebody. Isn't this wonderful? If you're here today and you're 18 or older and you're not registered to vote, stand. You're 18 or older and you're not registered to vote, stand. It is wonderful. Come on down. There's a major demonstration downtown today in Chicago and around the nation. So Jesus was a border baby. Jesus was born a Jew, born poor, born under a death warrant, had to escape to Egypt as an immigrant, gained asylum, and became a refugee. Herod tried to kill them. Egypt saved them because they were more humane. If we can save babies and families in Egypt 2,000 years ago, we can save Americans today. See, these children, I went to a rally early this morning, Sandra, and they say, was it born in the USA, don't take our mothers and fathers away. Was it born in the USA, don't take our mothers and fathers away. Born in the USA, don't take our mothers and fathers away. What a plea. Reverend Derek, why don't you come and lead us in prayer? We will take back election, but let us pray. Bow your heads, join hands. What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. workers' rights are under attack, voting rights under attack, children under attack, but you are our God, and you're undefeated. You've never lost a battle. And so see us through. Forgive us for our sins, and give us the joy of our salvation. It is a difficult time, but then you're the God that controls time. They can turn back the clock. They cannot turn back time. We're not going back. Forward by hope and not backwards by fear. Healing and hope over hate and hurt. Healing and hope. Healing and hope over hatred and hurt. We will achieve victory in our time. Amen. I want us now quickly to take up our collection. I'll be dashing out real fast because I'm going downtown to a big demonstration today. We need some extra support. Reverend Patterson, that you've been easy in the back? Pat, come up here, please. You look like you give $100 or more. You give all sports world figures got lots of money.
What a friend we have in Jesus.
You give $100 or more, please stand.
Our sins and griefs to bear.
You'll give $100 or more, please stand wherever you are.
Oh, what a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what
Dr.
a
Patterson,
friend we have in
$100. Thank you, Doctor.
Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. Oh, what a privilege to carry everything.
Some of y'all may want to swipe a credit card. Next week, I want you to bring somebody with you. It's time to march. We're not going to stand still and take this whipping without fighting back.
All our sins and griefs.
So Trump has power, but God has all power. Praying matters. Marching matters. Sacrificing matters. Forward by hope and healing, not backwards by fear and hurt. If you're not yet given, please stand. You may have $25 to give.
Hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burdens down. Burden down, Lord, burden down, Lord.
Thank Jolene Lambert, $50. J.D. Wilson family, $50. Thank you.
Burden down, Lord, burden down, Lord, since I lay my burden down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I lay my burdens down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I lay my burdens down. We are climbing
special guest from the athletic world. Give it up for Sports 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 World. Now we're going to close out on Amen. I need some of you to meet me here Monday night at 6 o'clock. We're going to organize, if you want to be a volunteer to get involved full-time in our struggle, raise your hand. We need door knockers. We need bell ringers. We need car drivers. If you want to be a volunteer for Rainbow Push, raise your hand. You want to be 6 o'clock Monday night. 6 o'clock Monday night. Now, Reverend Joe Bryan, who is athletic division, give Joe Bryan a big hand from San Francisco. July 7th, they're going to shut down the Dan Ryan. Used to shut down churches to go to hangings and lynchings. Never shutting down highways for justice. That's 180